The village of Ishong, hidden between the rolling green hills of eastern Nigeria, was known for one thing: its pride. Pride in their land, pride in their lineage, and pride in their wealth. Here, a man's value was measured by the weight of his pockets, not the purity of his heart. And that was something Chima Okeke learned too well. Chima was a quiet young man, humble, hardworking, and known for his patience. He was a skilled woodcarver, creating beautiful furniture from the iroko trees that grew deep in the forest. Yet, despite his craftsmanship, his earnings were modest. He lived in a small mud house on the edge of the village, with his aging mother, Mama Ngozi, who sold roasted corn by the roadside. Every morning, Chima would pass by the same path where Amarachi, the daughter of Chief Obi, fetched water with her friends. She was beautiful, so beautiful that the sun seemed to shine differently when she smiled. Her laughter, loud and unrestrained, drew attention wherever she went. Chima admired her from afar for years, never daring to speak his feelings. But love has a way of breaking silence. One afternoon, when the air smelled of rain and the sky dimmed into gold, he gathered the courage to approach her. "Amara," he began softly, shifting the weight of the carved stool he'd made for her as a gift. "I've admired you for long. I may not have much, but I promise I will make you happy if you give me a chance." Amarachi looked at him, really looked at him. Her face twisted, not with pity, but disgust. Her friends giggled behind her. "Chima," she said coldly, You think I will marry a man who cannot even buy shoes for himself? You smell of sawdust and sweat. I want a man who can buy me gold, not a chair made from the forest." Her words sliced through him. The laughter that followed was worse than a knife wound. He stood there, frozen, clutching the stool that was now an insult rather than a gift. The next day, news spread across Ishong like wildfire. Amarachi rejected the poor woodcarver. Children mocked him in the streets. Market women whispered when he passed. Even the chief, Amarachi's father, made jokes about poor dreamers. But humiliation does one of two things. It either breaks a man or builds him. Chima refused to break. That night, as the moonlight spilled into his small hut, he made a silent vow. He would prove them wrong. He began rising before dawn, trekking miles into the forest, cutting wood, and carving relentlessly. But this time, his focus wasn't on simple furniture. He began making art. Pieces so intricate that even he didn't believe his hands could shape them. Tables with animal carvings that looked alive. Stools that told stories through design. His mother noticed his determination, but worried about his health. "Chima, you can't let anger drive your heart," she said. "It's not anger, Mama," he replied quietly. "It's purpose." Months passed. Then one morning, a white truck drove into Ishong, something rare in the quiet village. Out stepped Mr. Adewale, a wealthy trader from Lagos who specialized in African crafts. He had heard of a young carver, whose work was unmatched. Word had spread through local markets and buyers in nearby towns. When Adewale saw Chima's carvings, his eyes widened. "Young man," he said, "this is art fit for kings. I will take everything you have. And from now on, you will supply me directly." That deal changed everything. Within a year, Chima's work reached galleries in Lagos and Abuja. Money began flowing like never before. He built a large workshop in Ishong and hired other young men to work for him. He renovated his mother's house, bought her new clothes, and sent money to widows in the village. His name became known far beyond the hills. And Amarachi? Her life took a different turn. Her father's businesses collapsed after a failed deal. The wealth that once surrounded her vanished. She was seen selling plantains by the roadside one market day when Chima's convoy of trucks passed by. People turned to look. Amarachi froze, her heart pounding as she recognized him. The same man she once mocked now sat in a black SUV, surrounded by respect. The crowd whispered again, but this time, their voices were filled with awe. Later that evening, she visited Chima's new home. The gatekeeper, one of Chima's former childhood friends, hesitated to let her in. But when Chima saw her through the window, he nodded. Amarachi entered, her hands trembling. She looked around the grand sitting room, her eyes filled with memories of the day she'd rejected him. "Chima," she began softly, "I was foolish. I didn't see your worth then. But now I know you're a man every woman dreams of. He looked at her, calm and unreadable. Amara, it's easy to see value when it shines. But where were you when I was in the dark? Tears filled her eyes. Please, forgive me. I forgave you long ago, he said quietly. But forgiveness is not an invitation to return. You see, I didn't succeed to prove you wrong. I succeeded to prove myself right. She wept openly, but Chima didn't move. He walked her to the gate himself, as the villagers watched silently. The same laughter that once mocked him was now gone. All that remained was quiet respect, and shame on those who had once despised him. That night, the elders of Ishong gathered and made a declaration. From today, the oldest said, let every man in this village be judged not by what he has, but by what he does with his hands. And for the first time in Ishong's history, people began to kneel, not before wealth, but before character. But Chima's story was not done yet. Because something deeper, something that would shake the entire village, was still to come. Months passed, and Chima's name had become legend across Ishong and beyond. People spoke his name with reverence, his carvings were displayed in art exhibitions across Nigeria, and his wealth had surpassed even that of Chief Obi, the same man who once mocked him. But Chima didn't let fame cloud his humility. He built a small school to train young boys and girls in craftsmanship. We may be born poor, he would tell them, but poverty of mind is worse than poverty of pocket. Still, despite his blessings, something inside Chima remained unsettled. He often walked through the old forest where he once worked, kneeling under the same trees that had sheltered his struggles. There, he would pray for wisdom, not revenge. One rainy afternoon, a messenger from the chief's compound arrived at his home. Chief Obi had fallen gravely ill. His farms were barren, his business partners had deserted him, and rumors said his once loyal men had stolen his wealth. The chief requested to see Chima, alone. When Chima arrived, he found the once proud man lying weak on a raffia mat. Amarachi knelt beside her father, tears streaking her face. The air smelled of sickness and regret. Chima, Chief Obi's voice trembled. I wronged you. I judged you not by your heart but by your wallet. Today I am nothing. My lands, my pride, all gone. I beg you, don't let my foolishness be my legacy. Forgive me. Chima's eyes softened. He knelt beside the dying man. Chief, I hold no anger against you. You taught me the most important lesson, that a man's worth is not seen by others, but proven by time. Chief Obi's eyes glistened. Then promise me something, he whispered. When I am gone, take care of this village. Lead them where I failed. When the chief passed that night, the entire village mourned. On the day of his burial, hundreds gathered. But when it was time to choose a new leader, something extraordinary happened. The elders stood and said, there is only one man worthy to guide us now. The one who rose from dust and taught us the meaning of dignity, Chima Okeke. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Chima stepped forward, humble as ever. He shook his head slowly. I don't deserve to rule anyone, but if my hands and heart can serve you, then I will serve with truth. Then before his eyes, every villager, men, women, and children, dropped to their knees. Even Amarachi, tears streaming, bowed deeply. For the first time in Ishong's history, people knelt not to a chief, not to money, but to a man of character. And as Chima looked at the sea of bowed heads, a thought crossed his mind. Sometimes rejection is God's redirection. Years passed, and under Chima's humble leadership, Ishong transformed. The once divided and prideful village became a community bound by respect and hard work. The youth no longer sought riches through shortcuts. They built with their hands, farmed their land, and learned the dignity of labor. Chima never called himself a leader. He said, I am only a servant of this soil that raised me. But his actions spoke louder than any title. He fixed broken wells, funded schooling for orphans, and started a craft market that drew traders from other towns. Ishong began to thrive again. Amarachi, now living a quiet life after her father's death, volunteered at the village school. Gone were her jewels and fancy clothes. The once arrogant beauty now wore plain wrappers and simple sandals. Yet, There was a peace in her eyes that wealth had never given her. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and children's laughter echoed across the fields, Amarachi approached Chima near the workshop. He was carving a wooden figure of a kneeling man, his latest creation. "Chima," she said softly, her voice steady yet filled with humility. "Every time I see you work, I realize what real beauty looks like. It's not in the face or the clothes. It's in the heart that builds, not the one that demands." Chima smiled faintly, brushing sawdust from his hands. "Amara, time is a teacher we can't escape. What matters is that you learned." She nodded. "I did. And I'm proud of what you've done for this village. You gave us all something my father never could, wisdom." Silence fell between them, heavy yet peaceful. The wind rustled through the mango trees as if whispering blessings. Later that year, tragedy struck when heavy rains destroyed several farms and homes. The villagers panicked, remembering the famine from years before. But Chima gathered them under the village tree. "Do not fear," he said. "What we built together cannot be washed away by rain. We will rebuild again." And they did. Everyone worked side by side. Men, women, and even children joined in. The sight of the entire village rebuilding together became a symbol of unity. When the last house was completed, the elders held a feast in Chima's honor. But instead of sitting at the head table, he chose to serve food to others. As people watched him moving from one person to another, smiling, helping, and thanking them, they once again rose and knelt before him. Not out of duty, but out of love and respect. Chima raised his hands. "Please, my people, rise. I am no king. I am just proof that God can turn humiliation into honor if your heart remains pure." Tears filled many eyes that night. Amarachi wept silently, whispering, "He was the man I rejected. Yet he became the man our entire village bows to." The moral of Chima's story echoed through generations. Never look down on anyone because of where they are today. For tomorrow, the same person might be the one you kneel before. Not in fear, but in respect. And in Ishong, that truth lived forever.